So how do you create a brand that truly represents who you are and the products you sell, as well as building a business that you can scale online? That is what this podcast will help you do. My name is Henry Kaminski Jr., and welcome to the Brand Doctor Podcast.
Let me just make this statement loud and clear. Jersey's here, Jersey's here, Jersey's here.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to another Brand Doctor Podcast episode. Today, we're going to be talking about how to handle the fear of niching down. And I have the wonderful, the one and only Brett Brown back in the house to discuss this topic of discussion. What is going on, B Squared?
Hey, Henry, how's it going, man? Appreciate that intro. Yeah, one of a kind. Yeah, they broke the mold and then broke the people who broke the mold.
Yes. Yes.
Said, we can't ever let this happen again.
Never. Never. Yeah. Oh my God. Brett and I were just talking about Brett had to go to the bathroom and he turns his camera off, of course. And he's got this profile picture of, and I said, dude, it looks like you stole a lot. It was from a while back. I was like, it looks like you stole a lot of people's lunch money with this photo. Like you come across as this little badass kid.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, without the beard and all the COVID hair, it's yeah, I look perpetually 15. Yeah.
Yes, and he just for the record, he doesn't steal people's lunch money.
Yeah, they give it to me willingly.
Yes, for the tremendous value that he delivers on a daily basis. Oh man.
So yeah, let's get into it. This is a good topic, man.
It is.
Yeah, and so yeah, I mean, I guess just diving straight in. It's funny when you were talking about people being afraid of niching down. My first thought was, yeah, they absolutely should be. They should be terrified of, those conversations on niching down, because if they don't, they're leaving behind so many opportunities by not niching down. Like that to me is the scarier thought of the two. It's all the missed opportunities that you have when you don't know who you're talking to, when you're not being specific with your actions or your purpose or your business, when you don't do anything that's clearly defined. Like you're going to miss so much in trying to reach everybody. You're going to reach nobody. And that to me is, that's a scary thing. That's way scarier than saying, oh, if I niche down, I might lose, a few people over here. No, that's, I'd for sure rather lose a few people than lose everyone.
Yeah. And like, to your point, like the scarier thing is showing up on social media and putting out a bunch of content that nobody knows who the hell it's for. And you wind up showing up as a ghost on social media because nobody knows who the hell you're for. And nobody knows who the hell you're talking to. Right. And that's something that is detrimental to your business. I want to really throw myself under the bus once again on an episode. Why not get the tractor trailer out and just go back and forth on my head a couple of times? I was looking at my Instagram feed and looking at my Instagram account last night, and I was like, dude, are you really speaking to a specific marketplace? And the answer was no. Okay. The answer was actually no, I came up with. And so I said to myself, all right, let's switch this up. Let's think about this for a second. Who do you really serve? Like the majority of your audience, the majority of your clients, who do you really serve? And when I looked at the roster, the majority are personal brands. Okay. So Henry, you have a knack to brand people. Yes. Okay. Well, is your content speaking specifically to that? No. Why? because I don't want to miss out on the bigger clients that I was able to serve last year and the beginning of this year as well. Well, now you're playing the middle, right? So, Henry, why are you afraid to niche down and only work with personal brands? Well, I don't want to look like another one of those, and this is where you can attack me at will. I don't want to look like another one of those personal branding coaches out there that have zero experience, but they're out there trying to be this personal branding coach. And I don't want to be pigeonholed in that camp because I have a lot more to bring to the table with my design background, my branding background, and so on. And so I said to myself, am I showing up as one of those fucking internet marketing fucking losers by niching down and focusing in on just personal brands?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's tough.
The struggle is real, guys. The struggle is real.
Yeah, it's tough because, the answers here are nuanced, because the honest answer is, of course, you're going to miss out on people, but there's a but attached, and the but is that's the point. Like the whole point is to miss out on people, because you want to make sure that you capture the people that are center target of where you're aiming, and if you're not talking to those people, I mean, this is a really, now that we're getting into it, it's a nice build on the last conversation we had, right? Which was about finding your audience and really understanding who you're talking to. And once you really know who your audience is, all of that other expertise, all of your diverse background, your, all these different tangential, non-linear skills that you have, it's now your job to niche down and tailor those things to that audience that you want to reach, right? And especially since you absolutely cannot reach everybody, I mean, even when you talk about mass brands, they still have the good ones anyway, have a clearly defined customer in mind, like even the major, like even Amazon, and that's why Amazon has so many different lines of business for all the evils they do in the world. Huge brands, Amazon, Walmart, Coca-Cola, Nike, they know exactly who they want to reach, brands who say we want to reach everybody struggle. Like Microsoft struggles. Their brand identity is difficult, and it's why they struggle to stay relevant, and they don't really ever feel modern or relevant in culture, or they feel like they're faking it, like when they did all the Surface ads in their first launch, a lot of it comes down to, you need to be comfortable and own that niche, and you need to be comfortable and own it. Whenever I think about niching down, I feel 100 years old, just because to me, the best example of how valuable niching is, you saw at newsstands. You saw it in the magazine racks at newsstands, where there is and nowadays we could, think of this as blogs or, threads we follow, those different things, like all the different types of stuff you follow online, like even different news channels or content streams, whatever, even channel subscriptions for YouTube. That's a lot like browsing a newsstand. But newsstands, to me, it's physical and it's easy. But so you saw things like so specific, and you knew immediately what was for you and what was not for you. Like Cigar Aficionado, Cats Monthly, Dogs Quarterly, art magazines, gun magazines, hunting magazines.
Playgirl for you, obviously.
Yeah. Star Wars magazines. Yeah. Like, I mean, all these different kinds of kinks, like all those different things, like there's something out there for everybody, and you saw all those things manage to survive because they're specifically saying, look, we only want to talk to people who, you know, care enough about cats that they'll buy a magazine about them. You know, we're not going to reach the dog owners. We're not going to reach all small fuzzy animal owners. You know, like I only want to reach people. Even the art magazines were very specific. You know, like if it was about architecture, fashion, if it was about fine art, if it was about comic books, if it was about, you know, urban art or experimental stuff or poetry. Like there's so many different things, and those lines of businesses were all able to survive until magazines as a whole went away. But yeah, I mean, the whole point here is just like, that's a really good example of niching down and the power of it, because you could walk into a Barnes and Noble or a Borders, and you could say, oh shoot, like you immediately skim past all the things that are not for you and find the one that is.
Yeah, that's my aisle. That's my aisle of interest. Now, here's a good question from Peter Butler. He asks, is working with small businesses niching down?
I mean, to an extent, but that's also, the more specific you can be, the more powerful your niche will be. So again, that's the difference between saying, oh, I just want to talk to pet owners versus I want to talk to people who, you know, have reptiles, versus I want to talk to people who I want to make a thing just for people who have snakes.
Yeah.
You know, like you forget how big all these individual things are. So, I mean, I guess, you know, I would challenge you to, whoever asks the question, I would challenge you to really dig into what kind of small businesses you feel most comfortable serving and you feel like you could offer the most value. And then really start exploring where, you know, where the right balance of like too big and too small is, you know, like keep going smaller until there aren't enough people there, I guess. You know, that's where, again, you got to do a little bit of research to start looking at, you know, how many businesses are in this category registered through your, you know, country or state's business thing, again, depending on the size of your business that you serve. Right. But like, you know, again, it really comes down to being more specific. I would say, to me personally, my opinion is just saying small business is a cop out. Like because generally speaking, when we talk about small business, it's like, oh, there's either big business or small business. Like small business is a massive category. There's mom and pop shops. There are, you know, small businesses who have several physical stores within any given state, and they're doing tens of millions of dollars a year in revenue. I
was just going to say, you could segment it through revenue as well. Like, small businesses that are making 500,000 or less, or $1 million to 5 million. I mean, they all come with different.
Yeah. But then like, again, you need to look at your offer. Cause like, because if you're looking at it as a pure, can they afford me thing, then your whole point of sale is, I am the cheapest or most bang for the buck within this price category, within this tier. And like, that's not a position you want to be in. You want to be something that resonates on an emotional level, you know? So I would say, like, look at the money, have the money be like secondary, even tertiary to all that stuff. Like, look at the types of businesses you serve. So like you Henry, are talking about, you know, personal brands, you know, really get into, okay, cool. Like that, what does that mean? What are some examples of personal brands? Who are some of these people that could really benefit from them? What does all of this stuff that I do have to do with personal brands? How can now I see everything through that lens? And now I can build a structure around serving those people better. And then if it is personal brands, I would even say go, you know, start creating different products, even as a test, if you want to ease into niching, right? Like start creating different content even without having to go through product iteration. Can you make content specifically to different types of personal branding? This is for people in the entertainment space. This is for people, you know, athletes that want to get into this stuff. This is for, people who are gurus and teachers and mentors. This is for people who are this and this and this. And so one of these things will start to trend, and then just follow that, but I would say it should be a continual, sort of ask.
So check this out. But Pete is one of our live listeners and viewers. Pete says, but what if all we have served are small businesses? They all need strategy, content, and beautiful design.
Yeah. I mean, you could say that for everybody. I mean, that's like anytime you can say a statement for everybody, that you're not being specific enough. Literally everybody will benefit from good strategy. Everybody will benefit from smarter strategy. Everybody will benefit from better design and more thoughtful, narrative driven brand identity and copy and tone and visuals. Everybody will benefit from great marketing. But I would say within that small business, again, if it's about your resume and experience, I would say we covered a portion of this on the last one too, was just to touch on it briefly is, you can take, once you know who you're talking to and what you offer them, suddenly all of that other outside stuff is relevant to this. I want to serve medical professionals, but the majority of my past clients have, I've worked with a lot of athletic brands. And so, again, I think this was maybe one of the earlier examples too, but yeah, if then you can transition pretty quickly, because you're like, cool, like now I'm the person who brings athletic expertise to a space that doesn't have it yet. Suddenly I'm the person who brings all my entertainment expertise to the party. If now I want to talk to people who, I want to just brand photographers from now on, and I can help them become, seen as more than that. Because like I've worked on entertainment brands and I've or I've worked on entertainment brands, so I can launch your shoe the way we'd launch a movie, because I have experience in all these different categories. I have experience doing all these different things. And, suddenly now you have a focused prism to lens all of your product offering for. So if you are a personal brand, if you are a business owner, suddenly everything you do and offer is now lensed through who you serve. Again, it all comes back to knowing who you're talking to so that you can speak directly to them, Otherwise you're just putting a huge net out there and you hope you catch something. Today you might catch a whale, you might catch a minnow, you might catch a crab, you might catch nothing. You might get a shoe. It's if you don't know what you're fishing for, it's really hard to build a business around that. A, and then B, it's, you won't find any consistency and you won't ever build a smarter net. You won't ever you won't ever figure out you need a bigger boat. If you don't know what you're fishing for, you won't be prepared to meet that, and then do it better the next time, and better the next time, and better the next time. I think that's the power of niching down. And I think that's sort of when people are loath to do it, when, they're slow, a little afraid to get into it. It's what ultimately they're afraid of is like, they're just, it's hard to be that specific because you want to talk to everybody, especially if you are in any way. You don't want to be
pigeonholed. Yeah. You don't want to be pigeonholed. You don't want to be categorized as another one, just like me, just like what the fear that I was facing, where I didn't want to be categorized as another one of these internet marketing coaches or these personal brand coaches.
Yeah. And that's and I don't think you would be if you niche down,
that's my point.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. That's my point. So let's go there. Let's take the plunge. Let's go and niche down to this category. Right. Well, I could tell you that I am going to come into this market segment very differently than a lot of other folks by nature, because I am much more direct than a lot of other people. And so I'm going to call a spade, just like I did on Instagram today. You'll have to look at that, Brett. You'll laugh. And you'll see, you'll see the big difference. And so it's in your head. Like, that's what I chalked it up to today. It was like, it's in your head, dude. Get out of your own head and get out there and help people. This isn't about you and how people are going to pigeonhole you. This is about getting out there and helping a bunch of people that are putting out a bunch of crock of shit, thinking that it's personal branding, and they're actually killing their reputations online. And if nobody speaks up, then you need to be that person that speaks up and says, guys, you're doing it all wrong. Or have you ever thought of this alternative? And go at it.
Yeah. And I mean, yeah, exactly. And then again, to that point, then you become the personal branding expert. Then you become the guy
by doing it,
or the place for personal branding specifically. So you're not just another one of these, you're not a click funnel thing. You're not a, social media personality who, on design, like, you're specifically for this thing and these types of people. And then what type of personal brands do you service? Again, like, the more specific you can be, the more people will bring their passion to buying into what you're selling, because I mean, just think about it as a human being. How many, you listen to podcasts, right? So how many podcasts do you subscribe to where only 10% of their content is relevant to you? How many YouTube channels do you subscribe to where only 5 or 10% of what one in every 10 to 20 videos might be talking to you?
Zero.
How many TV shows do you watch regularly? How many TV shows do you come back to and watch, like, regularly, when only, 10% of it's relevant to you? How many movies do you watch all the way through if you only really care about a third of that movie even? Right. And so think about that. That's a nice way to sort of step into your audience's shoes. If you're not talking to them, you're trying to talk to everybody, then ultimately only a small fraction of what you put out there is relevant to any person at any time.
Right.
Right. And that's really the power of niching down, is like 100% of what you offer is relevant.
Think concentrate. Think concentrate.
Yeah. I mean, it's why Nike can, but they also don't do a lot of things. It's and you see that a lot at really the most successful business. And when they make things that feel out of step with it, if they go to different categories, it's newsworthy sometimes, but B, it's also like, yeah, cool. Like, again, Apple made the news when they reinvented the pizza box, all that time ago for their cafe. They found a new way to keep pizza crispy while keeping it warm, while also saving on box. And so they rethought it from an engineering standpoint, all that stuff. But it was just something they made for their lunchroom. It's not a product. It wasn't a mind-blowing thing. It's like, cool, like Pizza Hut can reinvent the pizza box and offer it to everyone if they want to. Like, we just need a good pizza box going to satisfy the stuff, what we make, because that will help our process to offer people who think different better products in the future, right?
Man.
Oh, we make airport extremes so they can have a connected Wi-Fi that just works with their products. Oh, cool. We can't compete at the price point, so we're going to tell our customers, hey, cool, just buy a mesh network. It doesn't make sense for us to be in there. We'll sell different ones at our store, and we're going to go on to the next thing. And so again, it's all these different things that a business can iterate infinitely, but even if you have a near infinite amount of money, it's still not smart to do that. And I mean, again, like, even, like, it's tough, because, like, ultimately you're never going to get past the same core handful of things at a product standpoint. If you're a business owner, you're never going to beat somebody like Amazon or Walmart or whoever's price margins.
That's right.
Like
one of the, oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. I don't
yeah,
know.
no, I was just saying, like in tech, like Dell, you're never going to make a computer cheaper than Dell can just because of scale, And so again, like you need to find a niche that separates you on something different than price. If you're a creative entity, like I am never going to compete with Fiverr, I'm never going to compete with Fiverr or Upwork or any of those other things. And if my clients, potential clients ever come to me and all they care about is like, oh, that's more than I want to spend for this thing. It's great. It's not about spend. This is about making an investment. What I bring experience helping huge, G50 businesses, increase their revenue through branding and marketing. And I'm bringing that to startups and other disruptor type innovators who have really creative, really great ideas. But it's again, it's that whole thing only works. Where was I going with this? Yeah, no, I think the point here is like, I'm never going to be the cheapest option, and I'm not going to try to be. I'm going to be the best option for you.
Correct.
You want to be more interesting and more culturally relevant. You want a bigger cultural footprint for your business. You want to, get headlines. Cool. That's what I can help you do. I help people care about your business. Somebody on Fiverr can give you a logo. If all you care about is a logo, cool. I make logos that make people care about your business. I create strategy. Everything I do is designed to help people care about something that they wouldn't otherwise, maybe even not, wouldn't even have known about, know?
Right. So, it's funny. I'm conscious of time because I know you got to run in a little bit, but it brings me back when I think about niching down. It brings me back to prior to me being an entrepreneur, prior to me owning my business, and we're going back 14 years. Prior to that, I was working corporate at a hospital, local hospital over here for 8 years. And I remember getting to know a lot of the doctors in the children's hospital. And the doctors, my colleagues would say, oh, Dr. G, I'm making this up, but like Dr. G, he's the go-to guy for neonatal intensive care. So like NICU stuff, right?
Yeah.
And Dr. Pearl, he's he's actually a real doctor too. He's an awesome guy. Dr. Pearl, he's the go-to guy when it comes to investigating sudden infant death syndrome, right? And I had this I was almost like fanboying out about these doctors because they were so specialized and they were so known for that specific thing. And they were probably one of the highest paid doctors too in the hospital because they were so specialized in what they did best. And
that's a
I'll never
great
forget
example.
that. Yeah, I'll never forget that.
Yeah.
And so,
doctors is a great example too for the power of niching down. So again, just be in the customer's shoes for a minute, be in your community shoes for a moment, right? Your audience's shoes. You have a problem. Let's say you have a heart problem, right? There's a really good general practitioner who has worked on hearts, has worked on livers, kidneys, like all, their dermatologists. They've worked on all this stuff. They're a really good general surgeon. But the same place you could find one of the world's best heart surgeons. And in that cardiology department, there's one of the world's best heart surgeons who specifically has studied this thing that you're having. So of those three options, which one do you go choose, right? And I think that's a really good example of sort of somebody's mental framework when they're making a decision to either subscribe to your podcast or buy from your business or, want to schedule a call to figure out what you're about, I mean, again, depending on what kind of business you have, but it's all those things and that's the sort of mental models people go to, even if you're a major company. Again, it's why it's so important to niche down and know what you serve. And it's why you see, as brands get really, really big, they will often have a parent brand, a master brand that still serves a broader specific, like small businesses, but they'll have different product offerings within that, different things that are just meant to do these things. Athletic brands are great. Adidas, Under Armour, Nike, those are three huge brands, big master brands. And like at the core level, if you want to play good on game day, you go Nike. Back when they first launched, because Nike was all about performance, Under Armour made the really smart decision to be like, cool, we don't care about that yet. We only want to be for the people who train. We are Under Armour. So whatever you're wearing underneath the Nike uniform, we want to make sure you're that. So suddenly, that's why they sponsored the NFL Combine. That's why everything that they did was talking to people who train. They signed The Rock, right?
I was just going to say, you brought The Rock.
So like all these things. So like, cool. If I need workout training gear, what do I want? And that's a nuanced decision. Do I want something that's like, oh, cool, cutting edge technology, because like I see them in game time because that's the mindset I want to be in, or do I want to train? And there's enough of both of those people to decide that, and Adidas too. Like Adidas, Adidas can align itself with like fashion and music and street culture, and like, cool, like I want something that'll be comfortable, but I can rock it outside, that's why Nike has Jordan brand.
And that's why Adidas has Rev Run.
Yeah. And so
for those folks that don't know who Rev Run is, I used to live by him when I lived in the town nearby. He's Run from Run DMC. We used to bump into each other at the freaking pizza place all the time.
That's awesome.
Like, such a nice guy.
But and so again, it's like that's a good example of the power of niching down and how those audiences keep them alive, and how knowing what their niche is drives how they further dive into that niche. Again, that's why to me, whenever I look at niching, it's like magazine racks are the clearest example to me, because like, full transparency, I think smoking is horrible for you, and I don't personally do it or ever would advocate for it, but just for whatever reason, an example is like, cool, like Cigar Aficionado. I just remember that was a magazine, right? They'd see a lot, and I remember it because it's like, okay, cool, that's not for me. Why is that here? As a teenager, I used to think that a lot, right? But like now, as somebody in branding, it's like, cool, like what is, if you're the head editor there, if you're the principal at your business, right? Then you're the head editor, and you go, cool, like what's the Cigar Aficionado's angle on this? Why does this matter to this?
Yeah.
We could talk about Cuban politics, sure, because how does that affect, the product? We could talk about different things happening in the world, but what do each of those things dive back to? Because people are coming here because they want to enrich their, passion for this stuff, like Star Wars the magazine, like before Disney owned it, right? Like they would keep that alive by finding all these tangential things, like, cool, like how does that relate to sci-fi? What is this doing to further build out my brand's narrative? Like, again, it's all just world building. And
make it easy. Just make it easy for people to identify you as someone who is really good at that one thing. Like when I get my ACs serviced, I'm not calling a plumber.
Yeah. You're right. Also not calling a general contractor.
Exactly.
I mean, that's the thing. Like a general contractor probably could, they probably could fix it, or an electrician probably could fix it. But if you have an AC repairman, then he knows exactly what the AC problem is. He's going to fix it cheaper. Ultimately it's going to get fixed, and you won't have to call him again. Versus an electrician might be cheaper, but it might take longer. It might not actually get the problem fixed. He might go in there, diagnose the thing, and say, okay, cool, now you need to call an AC repairman.
Right. I bring it back to the time my son clogged my master bathroom toilet with a roll of toilet paper that he thought that he needed to wipe himself. And I had to call the plumber, and the plumber comes, and Brett, he was here for freaking 7 minutes.
Yeah.
And he fixed it. Right. And I was like, all right, what is it? And he was like, 150. And I was like, holy shit, for 7 minutes. It was $150. Guess what? I said, all right, I get it. This is a house call.
Yeah. And that's the value.
This is what you
exactly.
do all day.
And so, yeah, I think it's I hope the takeaway today, because like you said, you're right about time. So I think just to bring it on home, I think the takeaway is, you should feel optimistic and empowered by niching down, because there's so much you can do within that, right? You're going to find an audience that is now motivated for what you offer.
Yep.
It's why B2B is a thing. And like so many B2B things is, honestly, it's easier to do really fun, really good marketing. Just people choose not to, I think, or they get out in their own way. But like B2B is great, because the only difference between that and like B2C is like you have motivated buyers, because B2B knows specifically, they're like, cool, like we only talk to AC repair people. Great. Now I know exactly who I'm talking to. Let me go have a ton of fun making something weird for them, doing something that they want to be a part of and that's going to, enrich their lives. And we don't have to be boring about this. Yeah. But yeah, it's, for all that stuff, it's just, if you don't niche down, then even if you're a personal brand and you do podcasts, again, if your next episode talks about dinosaurs, then you're going to lose subscribers.
You think?
They can be equally interesting, but unless I come here for like, oh, tell me a random story every day, at least there's a level of consistency in that,
right?
But if your next thing is dinosaurs, and then you talk about,
airplanes,
and then biology, and then all these things, and then it's like, but there's no through line there, like I mean, even people who interview different people, at least the consistency is like the show's format and the conversations they have, like again, like a show like Conan's, who interviews everybody from comedians to world leaders to writers and musicians. So like he interviews a lot of different people, but you're there for Conan. That's the consistency,
right?
You're a fan of comedy. And so he makes you laugh at every episode. I go there to, de-stress and laugh and maybe learn a thing or two, but like ultimately it's like, cool. Like I'm just there to pass time while I'm folding laundry. But yeah, I would say small business, every small business needs it, but so does every big business. Figure out what you offer that only they can say, well, they need this, whereas other types of small businesses don't. That's a niche where you're like, okay, cool. When you know who you're not for, when you start understanding, who you're not for and who wouldn't be interested in you, that's another good way to niche down. Be like, cool. Okay. I'm struggling to figure out who I am for. Let me list all the things that I'm not. Let me list about all the people I don't, who this would not be for.
Yes. And be vocal with it. So I'm going to wrap this up. This is, I guess, my takeaway that I think I would want to have you get from this conversation, from my perspective, is pick a damn lane, go all in, and make yourself memorable by being you inside of that space. So I'm jumping into this personal branding space that I've been tiptoeing around for the past couple of years. And I think the straw that broke the camel's back, it was this. When I updated my Instagram profile, I went to search personal branding, and I went to accounts, and I didn't even realize that I had this IG account from a couple of years ago called Personal Branding for Influencers. I like squatted on that account name, and the Brand Doctor. And where those two accounts showed up was number 3 and number 4 out of thousands of people that are under personal branding or considering themselves personal branding experts, whatever. That was the universe telling me that, Henry, you chose the right lane, because I have been messing around with my IG account profile for months, and I said, where am I ranked? Even when you type it in branding, back when it was back, I would show up like 12th, 13th, 15th, 20th. And then when I changed it to personal branding and I ranked so high on it, I said, this is just the world telling me this is your lane. This is what you're here on this earth to do, is to really help people find the clarity and confidence in themselves and in their businesses to make this world a better place. And that's it.
Yeah.
And so I'm owning that, and I'm gonna create my own voice, or just let the world hear my voice. And the folks that will gravitate to it will, and the folks that I'm too much for won't. But I'm not apologizing for any of it. And that's the bottom line, and I'm sticking to it. So
yeah,
pick your niche, go all in, and be first class in it. And you will attract first class clients. Bottom line.
Well said.
That's it, my friends. We are going to roll out of here. Don't forget to drop a little comment, share this with somebody that would find it valuable. Leave a little review. I'm a few reviews away at this point of time from 100 reviews on iTunes. So I'm trying to hit that mark as soon as possible. So drop me a 5-star review and drop a written review over there. I would really appreciate it, and really helps out the reach of this show. So I'm going to keep bringing the heat with Brett, and tag us on Instagram, will you? Tag us on Instagram. Tag us on Twitter.
Yeah, tell us about your niche.
Tell us about your niche.
Yeah, Peter, I'd love to hear from Peter and everyone else. Like when you start landing on your niche, put it out there into the world. Make it visible, and tag us in it.
Yes. So have an amazing day, guys. We'll catch you on the next one real soon.
Talk later.
Take care.